Oh, hey, y'all. Happy Thursday, and welcome to the after conversation of Kings Speak, Queens Glean. We're here for the after conversation for episode 7 in season 2, Can I Be Vulnerable with BJ Williams. So grab your glass of wine, have a seat, join the chat, and stay tuned. What's going on, y'all? I'm excited to be here. Like I said, season 2, episode 7, Can I Be Vulnerable with educator BJ Williams. He had some amazing stuff to share. Okay, so this is the after conversation. When the kings speak, the queens glean. We got stuff to say. We got stuff to talk about. And y'all know how it goes. I got my panel with me. So we're going to get right into this. First up, I got my girl Keandra, Miss Surrendered Society herself. Check her out on Facebook. What's going on?
Happy Thursday. What's up, people?
Hey, happy Thursday, Queen.
Hey.
Yes. And I'm super excited. We got my girl in here. She always has amazing things to say and to add to the conversation. And we ain't seen her in a minute. What's going on, Reneè?
I'm here. Okay, look, my dress.
Oh, we kind of matching a little
love
bit.
Okay.
I see you, Purple.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the memo. I'm out here bumming it and blasting. And Queen Cookee is going to join us, but she's running a few minutes late, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm excited to have us all here, though. It's been a while.
It has been.
I know. It's been forever.
Girl, Key, you've been traveling. I see you've been working. Like, I love it. How's everything been going?
Everything's good. I'm exhausted, but I'm here.
Honey.
Y'all been working too. I've been watching. I've been
right. You've been giving each other the social love, like
the social love,
and then the energy of travel and grace and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
all the good stuff. Yeah, I've been. I'm kind of tired too. We got the little new moon coming, and those of us who follow our cycles. Saturday.
Oh yeah, the 13th.
What is it supposed to do for us? Is it supposed to energize us?
It is actually. It's supposed to be about new energy, renewed spiritual energy. Freedom, fun, love. It's all the Neptune and Venus stuff. So it's supposed to be really good and energizing. But just right now, your girl, me, I'm usually in bed before we come on. So I feel you.
Really? Oh.
I'll be like, let me get up and do that. Lord have mercy. Yeah, so great. Okay, so I know y'all see. What did you guys think? We'll jump right in. So Can I Be Vulnerable? I really love this episode because not only is BJ a friend of my homegirl, but I didn't realize he was doing so much for the community. So he has had a bus cleared out so that he can put mental health professionals on the bus and they could go around to cities and, underserved communities that need mental health professional conversations. And he also created curriculum around mental health for high school. So Jefferson High School has his curriculum and, the county is looking to adopt it. So that's major. I love it. What did y'all think about BJ Williams and just overall what he had to say on our last King Speak?
Who wants to go first?
I appreciated the fact that. Oh, okay. I appreciated the fact that his whole epiphany came in Barbados. It's totally one of my favorite places. I think he may have mentioned that he may have been under the influence of some Bajan rum. I can understand that too. So just putting that out there, I totally enjoyed the fact that, his whole download, divine download, as some people call it, happened there. But I didn't even realize, all of the things that you just shared about, what he's doing in the community. I think it's great. I loved that he was able to own his part of the story too, or just owning his story. Because so many of us, I think that's what kind of prevents us from sharing our stories because we'll have a little fear and shame around it. And he seemed to just be like, this is my story. Like what you want to do, And I loved that energy. So I appreciated that perspective and his energy that he gave of just being able to own, this is who I am. So now it's your turn.
Yeah. I have to be transparent.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to watch all the way, but now listening to this commentary, I definitely have to go back. I read all your breakdowns. I'm excited to have this conversation about this whole sacred safe space thing. I think it's very important, and I'm sure if that was a part of like the conversation, it probably hit home for a lot of people. And like when I was reading, I was like, okay, I'm ready to have this conversation. Like whoever this is, he created an amazing dialogue because I feel like it needs to be had, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it. And believe it or not, on Twitter, because y'all know we be on Twitter.
I need to get on Twitter.
Yes, we got a lot more traction than I thought. But some like men responded like, "Oh, I really like what he said about this and that." So I really appreciated that. So you're right. The dialogue really opened up and it resonated with men, which is perfect. So now it's time to talk to the ladies. And speaking of the ladies, you know, I got to get my girl Queen Cookee up in here. Yes. Host of Love and Good Music, Queen Cookee in the building.
Oh, I finally made it. Oh my God. LA traffic was like not trying to let me be great. I was like, oh my goodness.
Isn't it crazy?
But,
Traffic is back.
Everybody's back. Yay.
One time for the quad.
And I did have a few minutes to get my wine.
Hey, I need to actually I should have grabbed my glass. I left it in the kitchen, but
We need to have a special wine that we all drink.
we do.
Oh,
Anyone out here listening, if you're trying to sponsor us, wine companies, what's good?
What's up?
Mm-hmm.
Red, white, rosé.
What are we doing? So Stella Rosa, come through, you know.
All right, Stella Rosa for the win. I got some rare earth back there. I haven't drank since I think January 3rd.
So yeah, you've been on your fast.
I'm done with it. I just haven't picked up a bottle yet. So
Okay, well,
sure. And I know, Keandra, if you want to go get your glass while I read these comments, and
Let me do that.
I
want to be a part of the party.
Yeah, let's not have you suffering over here now. What's up in the chat? Black women in artificial intelligence. Looking forward to a great conversation. This group of ladies, love it. Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be seeing you on Twitter too, girl. So thank you so much for always supporting and retweeting and commenting and showing up. We love when you guys join the conversation. So,
oh my God, it's so much more fun.
It's so much fun.
It's like, oh, look what they're saying over there.
They're going in and I love it. Well, great. Well, we'll jump right into this. Can I be vulnerable? We talked about BJ a little bit. Yeah. And again, I'm just honoring what he's doing. And he's very open about his platform. So I'm like, dang, you know, I want to try to find, you know, I want to show up, but I wonder if there's any way that we can work together in some capacity because, you know, I really believe in this and we'll talk about some of that later. But our 3 topics are brave space, listening different, resources, and opportunities. And I want you guys watching to stick around to the end for our special segment, Trending on Social, because we got a little social media topics to talk about today, okay? Mm-hmm. So we will dive right into our first topic. And I really loved this one. Because he made the differentiation. What is it? Differentiation? Well, I don't know the doggone word. Y'all, I'm tired. Don't on me. He differentiated.
Differentiated.
Yeah, between a safe,
I think,
a safe space and a brave space, and we're gonna dive into what BJ had to say about that. So, let go.
I learned a ton from the guys. Well, actually, in terms of all of one of the things I learned about all of them in totality is like men love to speak. We love to talk. People like men don't like to talk. Yes, they do. If you just provide the space, and I know safe space is the normal term, but I like to say a brave space. It's one thing for people to be safe. You can listen all day to one person speak, but if there's a brave space as well as a safe space, it allows everybody to speak up. So that was one of the things that I think we did well at creating is allowing these men to feel brave enough to actually tell that story in a safe space. So that was one thing I learned. Men love to be in a park. You provide that space, that environment for them to do so. Shit, they don't shut up.
I love to hear it. So he has a docuseries called Can I Be Vulnerable? So he's interviewed, he's got over 50 interviews himself. Once he shared his story, a bunch of men opened up and wanted to share their story as well. And when I asked how it was going, he said it was important to not only create a safe space, which is something we often hear about, but a brave space. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think of the notion of creating a brave space specifically?
I think it's amazing. I mean, I'll dive in. I think that that's the part that we leave out is the bravery or the courage. You know, when you're in a safe space, do you even have the courage to speak in that space, that bravery? And I feel like when I was watching him, that's kind of what resonated for me is like, yeah, it's one thing to feel or have a place to be heard, but are you going to speak? Are you going to say what you really feel and what you really mean? And so, you know, just coming from that point of view is, you know, having that courage, having that bravery to actually vocalize what you are, you know, want to get out. And so that's a whole different aspect of just being in a safe space, is being brave enough to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. You bring up a good point, Cookie, because that's what I thought about. It's like safe. It's not like the word safe is passive, so to speak, but brave really means like you're in a environment where, yeah, you have the courage to go all out. And that requires a level of vulnerability. That safe is just like, okay, I can speak. But bravery is like,
I'm going to speak.
I'm going to speak and I'm going to tell it all because I feel like I can. I don't feel judged in here. And one of the things that BJ said is an ingredient to creating a brave space is the other person being vulnerable too. Like, you're asking me to share, but it's just like, are you perfect? Are you judging me? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and I think the thing that I love about the idea of a brave space is also being okay with being judged, because I can think of moments where I've been in rooms and I've shared my opinion and it seemed like everybody else had a completely different perspective than me. And it's like, okay, it takes courage, you know, and just even a certain sense of like, hey, I'm just owning that this is what I believe in this, and I'm not going to battle anybody about it. I don't feel defensive, but being able to be okay with just standing flat footed. I'm like, yeah, this is my story, or this is what I believe, and not allowing other people's opinions or their judgments, or even, you know what I mean, how they feel to prevent me from sharing whatever it is that I have to share.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Jaimi, about if you're going to give someone information, what are they returning? Or are they just soaking all the information that you're telling to them? Because I think that's what differentiates that whole like brave, safe, even though at first I felt like they were the same thing. And I'm trying to convince myself still that they're different, but I'm seeing it a little bit. But I think like that whole idea of what would make the difference if I had to make them two different things is the fact what you said, like, are you giving, or are you just listening the whole time? Because I know sometimes, even for myself, I'm a very quiet and very private person, so I don't share too much. But if I'm gonna share something, like, it got to make sense. Like, why am I sharing this? Just to run my mouth to you? Like, am I learning something valuable about you in return? Are we like the same? Did we go through the same thing? Can you agree or disagree with what I'm saying? Or are you just here to like absorb all my information? Then I'm gonna be like, like I'm not too sure with that one.
yeah, absolutely. That's how I show up too. It's like, I mean, I completely get that. In the chat, Black Women in Artificial Intelligence said, I believe that this happens when we call on every person that is in the room. We practice this at every meeting. We acknowledge each person in order to provide the opportunity to share. Yeah, I think that is, you know, part of it, to open up the floor so people feel safe to speak. But yeah, it's too, sometimes I think of that bravery, even on here, it's like sometimes you guys will say something and it will prompt me to be like, oh, we going there? Well, this is what happened to me. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it does, there's a level of courage that comes out. So my next question was, and Keandra, I feel like you spoke to it a little bit already, is like, how can we create that brave space for ourselves, our friends, and or our men, any one of those?
I think all that. I think it's gonna. I'm gonna go Keandra, because you was the master of this one.
Okay. She was the brain, baby.
I was just gonna say, like, I think it's, you know, a part of the safety is allowing the other person to disagree, or just allowing people to believe what it is that they believe, and not feeling that you need to either convince them or prove them right or prove them wrong, but just allowing them to have the opportunity to share. And sometimes people don't even always want feedback or need the feedback. They just need a space to be able to say whatever it is that they need to say or share. So I think that is a way that a safe space can be created for whether it's friends or, a partner or whatever, and ask them, are you wanting my feedback, before you just go on in and give it, rather than, just kind of opening the floor and just creating a space for people to just kind of share and riff off however they feel led to.
Yeah. I think time comes with it too. Like sometimes people try to force openness too soon. Like it's like if you just let the pot stir, it'll organically happen. But when you're trying to like force it out of someone who doesn't want to give you that, and give you that space or give you those feelings or whatever it is, then you kind of push them deeper away to where they're never going to open up to you, because you're not letting it age and marinate. And that's in friendships, because sometimes I think even when people get new friends, they start telling too much too soon. It's like, nah, bro, that's you've been your friend for 2 months now. Like,
right.
They need to pass a marker before you start going too deep. But yeah, like I think time is like a big part of it.
Yeah, we actually talked about that. BJ brought that up because he's like, yeah, sometimes it is too much too soon. Sometimes you still have to be able to gauge and do that dance. He referred to it as a dance. Like, how is our flow going? Because it can be like that, too much too soon, and it can put people off. It could be off-putting depending on if you're not in touch with the rhythm of what's really going on and you just talking to talk, which makes it kind of awkward. So.
Yeah, I think for me, Keandra hit it on the spot. It's just about creating a non-judgmental environment. I think that's when I come out the most. Like when people see me at like my core and who I am is when I feel in a comfort, like that my comfort level is there. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can let my hair down. These are people that don't judge me. These are people that are not, gonna come at me, and they are open to everything that I say. And even like my circle of friends, we don't have the same ideas about things, but we allow each other to speak and to bounce things off each other in a non-judgmental capacity. And I think that when you find that space with people, you have to definitely honor that. But it does take time, like Kiera said, like I've definitely met people and they're just too fast, too soon. I'm like, I don't even want to know this about you. Like, this is too much pressure right now. Like if the cops come right now and be like, yo, I don't know.
I'm ready to be your getaway driver.
Right. Like, is it too much too soon? Like she said. So I've been in that space, but I've also been in the other side where you've been friends with someone for so long and you don't know anything about them. And then it makes you wonder, like, okay, do you not feel safe around me, or like what is wrong? So I think there's still those difference. A safe space and a brave space. There's definitely two separate spaces for sure.
I'm just actually curious. Sorry, Jaimi.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I'm curious as to like, what do you ladies think is actually like the right time? Like, what is the right time period to be more open and share someone? Like, is it something that you can actually like quantify, or is it more of like a feeling and an energy before you feel like
it's a vibe?
Okay, now is a good time for me to share X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a number. Like you can't be like, oh, well, I've known you for 1 month, so let me tell you my life. No. But when someone wants to know more, or like Kiera said, it's a vibe. Like you meet people all the time, and then there's certain people that you just gravitate to. There's certain people that you just know they feel safe. It's a feeling. You feel good around them. You feel comfort around them. You feel peace. Feel that non-judgment around them. They give love, and that's who you start to like, oh, okay, let me tell you a little something. And then when they hold your secret for you, that's when you can start to like, oh, okay, let me tell you more. It's not an open gate to just flood them with everything, but you start to learn. And I think it definitely takes time. It definitely takes time for sure. But I don't think you can quantify it. You could definitely get close with somebody very quickly,
right?
In love and romance, or the more you spend time with a man, you could be married in like 2 months.
Exactly.
I've seen it happen before, but that's a lot of time spent. I think it's a lot of time. However much energy you give, I feel like that's what you can give back. So.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say with the time, because I was like, I know a month is short, but when you talking all day, every day,
Right.
that's a
It's
juicy
different.
month.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
like
juicy
6
month.
months.
Yeah, that's a lot. And one thing BJ mentioned, actually, he was like the genuine, coming from a genuine place of understanding. And to me, that is a vibe. Like, I definitely open up more when I know. You can also hear when people talk about other people or other stories or even stuff in the media or whatever, however they're willing to, however judgmental or non-judgmental, or what they're willing to understand and how they approach that stuff. That kind of helps me to be like, okay, they're
Mhm.
open-minded, they have their opinions, but they realize
Right.
we're all different. And so it's definitely an energy. I usually can always feel when it's all right to, and sometimes I still don't, but I definitely think it's that. And in addition to that, I think, creating that, I've been thinking a lot about self-love. So much about self-love has been coming up in me lately. And I think that when we're in a place where we genuinely love ourselves, we create that brave space wherever we go. Like you were saying, Keandra, with BJ, like I told my story, like what you want? I mean, I done already told it. So what could you do? Talk about me? I already said it. So you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, when you love yourself, you take ownership of everything. And it's like people's opinions of me, I love myself too much to allow that to what affect me. This is my
Mhm.
life. This is mine.
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
So it's
mhm,
like,
mhm.
I'm hoping to carry that energy wherever. And not to say everybody just needs to know my business, but it's like, if something does come out, it's like, whether it's too soon, too early, not you not with it, or did it, you don't receive it, or whatever it is, it's still like, well, I'm being me. I love me. This is it. This was how I was feeling in the time. And that's it. I don't feel guilty or bad or silly about my stuff or whatever it is, because I love
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, and that's good, and it makes total sense because it's, the thing about self-love is we can't give what we don't possess or what we don't have. And so we're not able to really even create safe spaces or brave spaces if we don't have that ability, or full if we're not full of it for ourselves, you know what I mean? Like we're just not able to extend it. So I think that goes along with, with just everything that you were saying, and why it's important to love up on ourselves and give ourselves all of that, because if we want to extend it, we got to actually have it.
Yeah, and be that. So this actually goes perfect into our second topic, because it's about learning to listen differently. We had a whole conversation about the difference between hearing and listening, and that of course that sometimes men aren't hearing because they're used to being attacked. So let's just go into this second segment here.
Nothing. We've been
All
attacked
right.
so much, and it's from all aspects of life. We've always been attacked, and I'm trying to say, oh, what was us? But when you're attacked so much, what are you supposed to do? You defend. Now, there are several, to me, how I look at it, there are several ways you can look at being attacked, or why you're being attacked, or how you're being attacked, or who's doing the attacking. Redefining that. I know a lot of times when we hear from our women, it seems like an attack, but in reality, they literally want the best of us and for us and from us. And so some of the things that they're saying isn't because they're attacking, it's because, nigga, you need to do better. And you can do better, and I want you to do better. And so thinking about it, and I've had to do that work myself, and like listening, like, oh shit, she's, however it's coming out, I used to see it as as an attack. Like, wait, but she's not attacking. What is she really asking of me?
Mm.
She's asking me to do better because she can see I can do better, and she wants better. Why not? Why can't we have better? Why can't she have better from me? It hasn't always worked. I haven't always been.
I know the feeling.
Mhm.
No, but I
Yeah,
love it. Yeah.
that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was
Because
really
it
good.
matters. Yeah, it matters. So what did you guys just think about? What did you think about the value of what he said?
Well, at first, I was getting a little worried over here, like, oh goodness, here men go playing the victim. But then, he started making more valid points that made sense. But I still think, and the whole conversation reminded me. So like maybe like a week ago, I was on the phone with one of my male friends, and he was telling me how he had a preference, and I don't know, I'm not turning this into a race thing, guys, but he had a preference over white women over black women, the black man, because he felt like black women talked down to him. The same with this guy was like perception, and also are harder to control. But then when he gets the white women, or whatever, it's easier to control. And they don't talk down. They encourage. They want to give him money. They want to help him build all these things.
Is that what you want, bro? That's what you want? Okay.
And so when I heard this thing, it's like the instant thing that I thought of, like, you're listening wrong. It's not, and it was like, yes, you're listening wrong. It's not that, that black female was trying to talk down to you. You were just in a space where, like Cookie said, you wanted someone to nurture you.
He wants a mom.
You feel me? You need a sugar mama. So you couldn't hear past the noise or whatever, But I definitely think that works both ways, men and women, responding and listening. But then there's also a point where you have to make sure that you're listening properly and not trying to convince yourself that you're hearing something, that's not being said. Because sometimes it is being said in an attack. And if you're trying to always force yourself to have this mindset, oh, no, I need to be listening, you could be bypassing red flags because you're trying so bad to be this wholeness and, listen and, whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, great point. And that was the whole beauty of this thing, because he mentioned, he's like, oh, it's not woe is me as a man, but yeah, you got to listen different. And it makes me wonder too, especially talking to these men, like, if it's a black man, going to the thing, and he's dating a white woman, maybe he did or didn't have a good relationship with his mother or sisters or other black women in the community growing up. And then now here you are trying to be his woman. And yeah, now you're not hearing me the same because you got that lens that, covering your ear that's sounding like, everything that you ain't trying to hear that. I don't need no more attacks for the rest of my, and you really do yourself a disservice because, it's funny. I was thinking about it earlier, and a lot of, if you don't want to grow, you know what I mean? And you're just looking for somebody to nurture and give you money and do this and do that. I don't know. I don't know what to really think about that. That's not really somebody who is showing up in a way where, I don't know if a woman could find enough value, if I could say. And Black Women Speak in the chat, she said, when you are listening, are you taking mental notes?
I always ask this question because it's like, I do it with myself when people are talking sometimes. It's like, I'm trying to hear them, but I'm also trying to process. And then I'm trying to take my notes so I can respond. Like all of this stuff is happening at the same time. And so, yeah, it is hard to like compartmentalize that sometimes to when am I listening? When am I thinking this through so that I can make a proper response? Because most often the first response is the wrong one, And so like all of these things are going on. And so what I felt like in BJ's clip was he was hearing but blocking, like you said. And then it was for the first time that he was like, but I think for me, this is what happens after someone tells me something. I have to go back and process it. I'll hear you and I'm probably not going to say anything, but then I'll think about it later. I'm like, oh yeah, that was, and so I feel like sometimes in the moment, it is hard to do that. It is hard to have someone, attacking you or telling you something. And you're just like, okay, I need to process that. There has to take some sort of time for me to even understand that you're coming from a place of love and you're not trying to attack me and that you're really trying to see me in a better space. But I don't see that in this moment. So I'm going to take a step back. We're going to come back. And when I do, when my head is better, because when someone's coming at you, your head is not there. It's just not. So I don't know. It's just it's hard to process that in the same moment in that space.
That makes sense. The other thing that came up after the clip for me was like, is there a particular frequency that, you know what I'm saying, that you're hearing the the criticism, or you're hearing the, you know what I'm saying, the things that are like, I'm not pleased with this, or I'm complaining, or, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're only hearing that, then I think that you naturally get conditioned to expect that every time your partner is basically sharing whatever it might be. So I often wonder, you know, when I hear that, when men are just automatically defensive, it's like, is that the only communication, you know, that you're really having in your relationship? Or because sometimes that is the dynamic, you know what I mean? Like you're not really getting any of the like, thank you for what you did, I appreciated this, or that. Like you're not hearing the recognition and the good acknowledgement. It's more so of like, it's time to talk, you did this wrong, you know what I mean, going through the list. And so that can naturally kind of create this like uptightness, and like the moment that it's an opportunity to speak, it's like, oh shit, here we go. Like
dang.
Yeah. You don't want to hear it.
And so in the chat, Black Women Speak said, we take notes in the classroom. We are listening to learn, but in relationships, we are waiting to speak. How often do we ask if we can come back to the conversation? That's what I was thinking. Because that's pretty mature though, Cookie. Because sometimes it's
because I can't. No, I just know about myself. I am more of like a firecracker. If I respond in the moment, I'm going to attack back if I feel attacked. So for me, if I know someone's really trying to talk to me and I can't receive it in that moment, I ask them if I can step away, because I'm not in the space to receive how you want me to receive this. I'm in a space to attack. And this is going to go so bad. So I need to take a step back. And, you know, hindsight is 20/20. I'll go home, I'll think about it, and I'll be in a better space. And I'm, you know, but sometimes I can't handle that in the moment. And people have to respect that. You know, sometimes, you know, people come to a conversation waiting for it to end right there. Like, okay, I heard you. Now let me go build my case. You know, let me go get my lawyer ready. You know what I'm saying? Let me go do my research. Let me make sure you're making sense here. You said I did what? On a what day? What was that? Like, you know, I need to think. Alibi. Yeah, no, I need to think, you know, sometimes, especially when it's real hard, when it's coming from family or when it's coming from a relationship, when it's real hard, tough love, and you're not in the space to receive, you need to walk away. you need to take a breather.
Yeah, I know for me, I'm really bad at this too. Like once I don't hear what I need to hear, I stop listening to you. So like, and this, I listen. I might even do this. I do this in business too. Once if I'm negotiating with you and you like start saying stuff, I don't even hear you no more. Like you're probably like you're rambling. I stop listening, and like I stopped like rationing what's happening in our heads, and it's now I'm just waiting for you to be quiet so I can talk. You know, so that I can like reiterate what I already said. But I do that even in arguments, or I rarely argue, guys.
So like Black Women Speak said, you're waiting to speak.
You feel me? I am waiting to speak. And then, because I was kind of like, you know, especially like being a trained journalist, you were trained to like always be thinking about the next thing. Right. So when I was listening to people for like a whole year and a half, 2 years, I was never processing. And it could be we could be at the grocery store. I was always thinking of, okay, she just said this. How could I like respond in a clever, fun way? And I was having regular conversations with people like this. And I had to like retrain myself, like, girl, you are in the real world. This is not an interview. Be present,
right? Be in the present.
So it's like, I think I always say, I think being like a journalist affected my communication skills, because they don't teach you to like, they teach you to just react, like, you know.
You have to be one step ahead.
And I was definitely going to bring that up, because in our profession, so I didn't go to school for communications or journalism. So as much as I am waiting to speak, and it's like you're listening with one ear, but the other side has to be ready to say something, and it has to be informative, educated, witty. It has to be something. So naturally you're listening with two pieces of your brain. It's a skill. Okay. And you know, But it's also like, because I've been hired to host in so many different places, I had to listen. Because if I wasn't listening, I wouldn't have nothing to say. I'm hosting tech shows. I'm not a tech guru. If I'm not listening to this person, I'm gonna sound like a real idiot in 3, 2, 1. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I have to figure it out.
Mhm.
But I definitely want to kind of take that advice with what you said, Cookie, is like, when I know I need a minute, I need to take it because my blood runs hot. And let's just keep it real. Like, it could be somebody that loves you, or it could be somebody where you're still trying to decipher where they're coming from. But when somebody's trying to tell you about yourself, especially if there's a particular tone to it,
It's hard to hear.
your fight or flight comes out, and it's like, I'm a fight too. Who are you? How are you valid? Like, I'm about to build my case right in front of you, and we're gonna shut it down and we're gonna move on. You can stay cool or not, but I run hot. But like you said, Reneè, actually BJ said the same thing. It's like, and I know you guys notice this with men, but they either want to retort or they go blank. It's just like, have you ever been in an argument with a dude and he checks out and gets you more mad?
Either they're gonna give you that fire or it's nothing.
Yeah.
That's a survival tactic. It's a survival.
Yeah. And then that's when we tend to come back like, no, we having this conversation right now.
Right now.
Like, no, it ain't no coming back. Like, we having it right now.
And that attitude right there is why they are not with our skin color.
But your friend.
And shout out to Black Women Speak, even when she said, when someone does say like we need to talk, that does usually come with a negative connotation. You already know they're coming with something. Like, why do we feel like when someone says that, like, it's bad?
Can we learn to listen differently? Can we change our brain and reprogram it to right when we feel that, oh, we need to talk, and you feel that be like,
I think if you feel that little feeling in your feeling, you feel that feeling in your gut, like you need to do what?
But what if we could shift that,
What if, I think we just need to all stay ourselves. And I think that eventually we're going to run across the people who are in the same listening level as us. And we're going to have great communication because we're going to both be here with each other. And if you don't find someone that's here with you, you keep searching, little lady, until you find him. So you can stay yourself. You feel me? Listen more, listen less. Just be you.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah,
be you.
There you go.
I ain't changing.
Now, there's like growth is one thing, but please be yourself. Now, if you want to make adjustments and learn some stuff, cool. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, be you. I mean, I'm a Gemini. I be switching it up. I'm really sweet, but I light your ass up. Like, I run. That's how I run. And when you spend enough time with somebody, you're gonna see that. You can't hide that. So yeah, you're right. It's not that I'm not gonna be myself, but I'm gonna try not to, spit too much fire. Oh my goodness.
And like Reneè said, like when you find the right person, then they can understand that the fire that you spitting behind it is not necessarily that you are, just this wicked person, but that there's this, you know what I'm saying? That there's like an anger or just something else is behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Someone has a different level of understanding of like, okay, I understand that this is a trigger. This is a thing. This is, you know what I'm saying? Like it, rather than it being like a thing where it's like an automatic shutdown and you're not understanding your partner and you just not even giving them the opportunity to share. Because for some people, anger is their response in the way that they show their vulnerability. You know what I mean? Until they're able to understand the other emotions that come with it. You know what I mean? And it just is what it is, and not justifying it and not saying that, there aren't some times when it may go a little far, but that sometimes is like, look, this is what the emotion is right now. And I need you to love me regardless and hear what it is that I'm trying to say. And as you hear me, then hopefully then that anger can start to like, dwindle out. And then, the conversation can continue at a normal time.
Yeah,
see, that makes me feel loved. That makes me really feel loved right there.
Like where I was at, because I was the 0 to 100 when I felt like someone was trying to come at me in a way that I didn't feel, was nice, or they were trying to attack. But I think that that's why I had to come up with that, like, where I have to just take a moment and step back, because it was attack, attack back immediately. That was my flight as well. And I think in learning how to deal with my emotions and how I'm able to respond at this phase in my life, it's best for me to take a step back, because I already know how I am. And until I can learn how to process those feelings in the moment without the fire, then I need to continue to do the way I do, where I step back and then I'm going to come in a clearer mind. Now we can talk as adults. Now, because I understand what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes I think with that, hopefully that works for your partner, because I can see how that could also be frustrating. I don't, sometimes with me, I'm like, I really want to have this conversation now.
No, like right now.
Right now. There's no time. We have to do it now. I'm not
now
waiting
I can't sleep because we didn't rectify, we didn't, so it's like trying to find the balance, I guess. And then being on the other side of that and trying to give them grace, like, all right, tomorrow, but it's gonna be tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. Just let me think. Shit, like, it could be tonight. Give me an hour. Shit, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll compromise.
See,
but not right now.
But
not right now. Let's talk in an hour. I need to think. Like, you just said a whole bunch of shit to me. I need to think.
I mean, let me just go to this chat. I'm not mad. Okay, maybe it's
that's the Fresno in her.
Right. I get it. I really can't knock it. You're being real right now. She said, maybe as Keandra said, some of those we need to talk prompts should be good news, because we need to talk has been conditioned as negative conversation. That's true. Maybe we can reframe a little bit, especially when it happens at work. Oh,
that's a whole.
When the boss comes,
we need to talk. I'm just packing my desk right now. I know my lunch break's been too long.
Mine is a text message from my boss. Come see me when you have a minute. I'm like,
my stomach turns. Like, did he see me on Instagram this whole morning?
Wait, come see me when I got a minute. Like, what you need?
Hot mess. Black Women Speak also said, depending on your personal experiences, your response could be based on your own insecurities, even if the person is not attempting to attack. It is a slippery slope. Walking away is good. Love it. That's true. That's the whole thing right there. And it's the stuff that we've been through. It's our filter, and just realizing that we have that filter. And then can we realize it enough to, like Cookee said, either walk away or have that moment and just be like, okay, maybe they're not finna do all that. Like, how can I switch out of this mode that I'm used to getting in and just try to be open for a second? That's what I'm trying to do. But
it's also like Reneè said, it's just finding that partner that understands you.
Absolutely.
So I feel like in my next relationship, like, I think I need my partner to understand to look, please, I'm a firecracker. So if there's ever a moment when I tell you I need to walk away, I need you to understand. I mean, I need to walk the fuck away. Because you don't want this fire, and so it's going to take my partner to understand that that's my code word for stop, and understanding that that's what that means. But like you said, finding that compromise. If it's important to him, I'm going to come back to this. Just give me a little bit of space for right now in this second, in this moment. So, yeah.
Yeah. And let me ask you guys, because this is such a good topic. I wanted to ask, because this is what I think of is, when we are interacting, when we're mindful, it's a really good thing. But do you believe that speaking up has had a negative impact on the other person, whether it's been at work or a relationship or a friendship, to where now you don't even want to say nothing about nothing? You're timid to talk or keep it real or bring anything to the table because you're trying to tiptoe around the response of the other person. So if you guys find yourself not voicing your needs because you want to avoid conflict?
I've done that before. And I think that that's where I'm at in my life, is like opening my throat chakra. I do it all the time. I do it at work because I'm a Black woman in a company with predominantly Latino and Caucasian people. And so, when I say something, it's automatically like, the crazy Black girl is speaking again. And not that it was crazy, but if you say anything with any kind of sass or you passion or anything, you're the crazy black girl. You know, it's just because that's what's in their mind. And so, yes, I'm in meetings sometimes where I have to hold my fucking tongue, because if I say something, I know they're going to think like, oh, here she goes again. Or, oh, that's Erica again. Oh, Lord. Oh, and she's talking. So, yeah, I do find myself holding back a lot, because I'm like, I know when I speak with a lot of passion in my voice and in my tone. And to some people, that's a little scary. You know, they're like, oh, turn it down a little bit. Like, no, I'm serious about what I say, and I love my job and I love what I do. And so when I'm passionate about it and when I want to talk to you about it, you know, I might use my hands a little bit, I might talk a little bit, and that scares people. Same in like relationships. Like, I'm working on speaking with my mother right now, because there's a lot of things that I want to say to her, but I'm like, I don't want to even start this right now. And I'm like, you know what? Every time I let this stuff go because I don't want to do it. And I'm like, you know what? Not anymore. Like, I'm 35 years old. Mom, like, we're just going to disagree on some things. Like, we just are, like, you know, and, you know, I'm working through that this year, is just really standing my ground on some things, especially when it comes to like her or even certain people in my life. Like, I'm 35. I pay my own bills. I do my own thing. Nobody can. I'm in this bit. Nobody can tell me anything. Like, you just can't. You just can't. And I say that with love. With love, you can't tell me anything.
Like, let me be. You know? Let me live.
And so I feel that in certain spaces, I feel like I can't say things. I'm like, oh, it's my mom. Mom, you know, moms just do that. And then sometimes I'm like, Mom, no, you can't say that to me anymore. You can't, you know, you can't say those things to me anymore. Like, you know, so yeah, learning to find the balance there too, because there's a way to be disrespectful and there's a way to, you know, over speak. But yeah, I definitely feel that I've held back for 34 years of my life, and in year 35, it's not happening.
I hear that, especially Cookee, as you were talking about the work scenarios. You know, I mean, hence code switching, you know what I mean? Like, because we're all aware that when we use too much passion or our hands or a particular, you know, body language, and we're just expressive as Black women, that then is received as, oh, here she go. Oh, here's her attitude. You know, and I hate that, but I'm also very much aware of it. And, you know, we talked about it in previous episodes of just how we know, and I think most of us who've operated in different, you know, industries and organizations in corporate America, whatever, we know that we have to kind of be multilingual and sometimes turn it off because of the ways that it's perceived. And I hate that. I mean, it's one of the reasons why there's such a mass exodus of Black women, you know what I'm saying, leaving corporate America or just those spaces, because we're tired of feeling like we have to shrink and compartmentalize when men are just, you know, other cultures can be just as expressive, and it's perceived differently. And a lot of those don't have anything to do with us. And then there's other times when it's like the balance of holding stuff in because you don't want to be misunderstood, that then turns into self-betrayal. And then how is that serving me? You know what I mean? Then I'm the one who's suffering and staying in bed and, you know, staying up at night, and the thoughts are ruminating through my mind, and, you know, that becomes then unfair for me. And so I definitely don't have the answers. And, you know, it is one of those balances of, gosh, when do I share something? And then other times when do I just keep it to myself, or at least share with someone else? Maybe it may not be to the exact, you know, person directly, or maybe it's to a therapist or something else. But it's like, I do think it's important that it needs to be expressed. But sometimes in some spaces it can be misunderstood, and that being misunderstood is just as painful as holding it in, you know? So it's just one of those hard things to navigate at times.
Yeah, I can relate to like both of you. Well, I'm very outspoken, so I got in trouble as a kid, and it made me like stop sharing opinions, because I was probably like not a real kid, but you know, that like middle school, high school age. I was always told like, oh, Kira, you're hurting people's feelings. Like with like my family members, it would be like, oh, you're so mean. You just tell people, you can't tell people these things.
No
And
filters.
like, yeah, you know, like even like my sister, my mom would be like, you're so mean. Like how you can't talk to your sister. You can't tell her these things. They're like, but I'm just telling the truth. You know? So it would get to a point where I was getting so tired of hearing these to where I started to believe like, oh my gosh, like I must be mean because I just say what comes to my head. Like if your elbow's ashy, I'm just gonna say, yo, tap it up.
Right.
There. Like, you know, get a little flavor. Got some, like, you know.
Let me check mine.
Like, let me get it, girl.
You know, and it's like, but to be told when you say these type of things, like, stop, that's mean, you can't, and it's like, okay. So I started to like kind of shrink myself for a long time, and I wouldn't tell people anything. Like, I don't want to be the mean one in the room. Like, but then I got, you know, you start realizing like, wait, no, you're not being the mean one. You're like, you're just telling how you feel. Like, you know, you're supposed to be able to do that. But for a while, like I would always, and it happened, it trickled into relationships where like I wouldn't speak up. I wouldn't say nothing. I would try to just stay quiet and be sweet. But it's like, it ends up like hurting you in the long run because had you spoke up or said something, maybe you wouldn't have been treated this certain way for so long, or maybe this wouldn't have happened and you would have been able to navigate your way out of these spaces. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes it can affect you, or it can start as a child and linger. And because you're told something as a child, you start to believe that it's something that it's really not. But then as you get older, you're like stuck in your way of trying to be quiet because you were always told it's a bad thing to speak your mind, or it's a bad thing to let people, you know, have honest conversations. So it kind of, you know, but I'm glad I was delivered.
Especially as women. As women, we're taught to not say, or, you know, oh, you don't, especially when we're speaking to a man, like, oh, you don't speak to him like that, or don't speak out of your place, or like things like that, you know. And so, of course, you know, they start this thing these cycles in our mind as children that learn, or even when you're a kid, when parents used to say, you know, learn a child's place, or you don't speak. It's just like, come on, you know, you're setting these rules or these boundaries on these kids when they're little, or telling them that they can't use their voice. And then they come out of school in high school, like mute. And then we're telling them like, go out in the world, get a job, go talk to people. And these people don't even know how to communicate. We got people out here that are like, that can't even like go do a job interview because they just can't talk because their parents have stunted their growth since they were kids and they don't know how to speak.
Yeah. No, that is so true. And we have such great stuff in the chat, actually. You guys are all right, man. And it's so unfortunate that happens, especially, you know, what you guys said about growing up and being filtered. And now I'm supposed to go out and be what? Like, I don't want to speak. I'm in trouble every time I open my mouth. But some Black women speak. She talked about how that she's been there in the workplace and that they watch too much reality TV and that we're automatically vilified in some spaces without evidence. Sometimes she's been found as intimidating. But when in reality, she's quiet, but she doesn't resemble anyone on reality TV as it relates to actions and tones. But that's assigned being based on being a Black woman. Like, do you guys think reality TV has an impact on how we're just seen as Black women as a whole? Like,
of course. For sure.
Of course.
I know
because to some people,
medicine.
To some people, like Middle America or like KKK land, this is their only view of our culture. So when they're watching Love and Hip Hop, they think this is the culture. This ignorance is the culture. And so then you wonder why large amounts of groups of people think this is how we are, because they don't live around us. They don't interact with us. And so all they do is see what's portrayed on the news and what's on reality TV and what's shown on just any TV. And it's usually, for us in our culture, it's usually negative. We're usually the criminals. We're usually the people, you know, casted in movies until maybe like the last 5 to 10 years we've been breaking into like lead roles. But we were always never a lead. We were always exactly. You know, so it's like, of course, this is what they think. This is what Middle America thinks. Of course, this is what they think.
Yeah.
And wait, what was that you said, Keandra, about somebody at work? Or
Oh,
were you
I was going to say, I remember one of my bosses watched Married to Medicine, oftentimes in her office. So, it was just kind of like, it was just interesting because I don't really watch the show, but it was like, that's
I
not
do.
even necessarily it's not a love and hip hop genre.
No, it's
You know what I
not.
mean? Like it's
No.
different. So
No, that's
it's
still
like,
drama.
it's still
Yeah.
drama, I'm
them,
sure.
Them shows is more drama than Love and Hip Hop.
Mhm.
I
Because
believe
they
it.
show drama from a finance perspective,
They be
rich
fighting on
drama.
them. They be fighting on them shows too over the dumbest things.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
do. They be going off on Married to Medicine. They be fighting in their
And the
luxurious
Potomac and the
10,000
Potomac
square foot
housewives and
closet
all
fighting.
them heifers.
It be fake. It be the most worst fights though. Like, but they still be fighting. It's so unfortunate. But I know for a fact it's true. I was in Phuket one time and I have this friend out there and he is literally the blackest. I'm gonna call him Asian. I'm sorry, he's probably not. I'm in probably the wrong region, but he's the blackest one on the whole island. Okay, and I was like, "Yo, like, how did you learn English so good? And like, why you talk like you're black? Like, what's into you?" He's like, "Oh, I learned from Love and Hip Hop." And he was like,
They do though.
he learned English from rap music.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like, "You did what?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's how I learned English." And I'm just like, no, that's not.
True
I was
for
like,
a lot of cultures.
and I'm just like, that's not it though. I was like, that's not real. It's not it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is insane. And Mark Nash in the chat said, Dr. Jackie told that woman, we talking about Married to Medicine now. Dr. Jackie told that woman's fertility business in front of the nation. She did. Like,
oh my gosh.
She claims she didn't do it.
That's why.
Girl, they be having drama. Like,
that's exactly why Reneè said they're more messy than Love and Hip Hop.
You ain't never.
Well, you ain't lied. You ain't lied. Dang. But that just goes to show the power and the influence that we have globally.
That part, globally.
Right.
I think that we have moments when we try to use it responsibly, but then there's also gatekeepers in entertainment and the powers that be that don't allow some of the other sides to be shown. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that one thing becomes
the blanket
statement, behavior, whatever it is, that everyone relates to. And it's like, but there's so many, we're such a dynamic people. Like there's literally nobody else like Black Americans on the earth. And you know what I mean? So it's just, it just makes me sad that at times that it can just be such a narrow and only one-sided view of who we are. But that is a part of who we are, and it can be celebrated too. It's funny, but it also, there should be some balance that we should be.
A lot of the world keeps their people in a bubble too. Like when you travel overseas, like I know when I was in like Indonesia, and I was also in where did we go after that? It was Philippines.
Everywhere.
My internet didn't work the way it works in America. I couldn't log into my Netflix. I couldn't log into my Hulu. I couldn't log into it said that the content was blocked. And it was like, oh, so like they block certain content from their people and they allow certain content for their people. And so when you meet these people that have skewed views of our culture and of just even of America, period, it's because their nations have them in a bubble like that, because that's what they want their people to see and believe of America. And that's why there's so much hate for us. And, there's so much miseducation, but America does the same for us. There's so many things they're feeding us about other nations too. It's just a whole mess, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, just getting back to, what we're talking about, like, they're being fed certain things on reality TV because that's their only inside source to us as a people. And it's flawed. That's not who we are as people. That's 6 women that are paid to have drama.
Do that. Yeah, exactly. Because reality TV is definitely contrived and it's scripted. It just is what it is. Like those of us in the business, we know. Like, no, that's really unfortunate. It's so crazy. I had this one. I wanted to go back to Mark Nash and gave something for you, Kiara, with your honesty. He was like, well, he's like, there's a time and place for honesty. That same remark about being ashy could be in poor taste if it's at somebody's wedding.
Oh, girl, you ashy, girl.
You ashy, girl. Let me get that before you are.
Get you before you go.
Right.
You know, he might say no. You know.
We got to keep you together.
I'm not mad at it.
Oh my god!
All right, guys, we're at our hour, Mark. But I do have another. I have another video with BJ, and then a trending on social. You down or what? Everybody good?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay, just wanted to check in with the ladies. Okay, that was a super fun conversation. This last one is about resources and opportunity, and let me just play the clip.
As you mentioned, police brutality and defunding. I like to call it budget cuts. Defunding sounds too formal. Budget cut police is my favorite thing because people know what budget cuts are. Y'all been budget cutting education for 50, 60 years. You know exactly what budget cuts are. Budget cut police, put that money back to where it needs to go because honestly, the job as policemen become a whole lot easier. You can still get the money. I'm not even mad about them getting paid when they get paid. You can still get your bread, but your job becomes easier. Because you don't have to deal with the BS. You have professionals to do it. And if you're one of those people that really like, you're about that, you want all action, you're trying to beat bad guys over the head, then you need to go to war or something. You need to go do something. Policing is not fun. Because now you're dealing with the community. And the community don't need to be bashed on a damn head every time you step out. So you need to go do something else. You don't need to do this. But budget cut their asses, man. Like, it makes your job easier if other people have the funding because that gives other people opportunities. It gives us opportunities to come in and help where they really need the help. You don't need to go to prison. You need to be sat there. You don't need to go to prison because you're addicted to drugs. You need drug rehabilitation.
Yeah, I really loved and agreed with him for saying this. You know, it does make me pose the question, how do you feel about mental health services being the #1 need in our community and why? Because I definitely feel like that's what we're lacking. Where we are lacking when it comes to moving forward at all as a community.
I mean, I definitely think we need mental health services. I think it just needs to be implemented in a different way because the thing is, you have to understand that like African Americans, they're afraid of mental health providers. They're afraid of therapists. They don't want to go. They don't want to get on drugs. Now, thank God, they don't want to put their kids on Ritalin. They don't want to do these things, like, you know, so I think like how my niece's school is doing right now in Sacramento, they implemented 30 minutes a day of mental wellness training where they make the kids do affirmations. They make them speak and write out their feelings for the hour. They make them elaborate on their thoughts for the hour. And they make them do like these positive word vibes for the, like, you know, and that's what the 30 minutes is spent on. So I think if they're going to spend money, it needs to be on different ways to implement the help that we need. And then also clarifying why it's important and also helping to help me out with a good word, but like make it to where it doesn't feel so bad. You know, or like that.
Normalize it.
Yeah, normalize it. There you go. See, normalize it because right now it's not something that you could just say to like even like a black woman, a black man, hey, you should go to therapy. They're going to be like, excuse me, do what? Do I look crazy? I look like I need therapy? But no, you know, without knowing that, no, everyone actually needs therapy. Therapy is just a form of communication and speaking with someone who can help you elaborate on your thoughts. Like, you know, but people who've never been or don't know, they're not going to know, well, that's really all it is. Like, you know, you guys, you'll be all right. You're good. Like, your secrets are safe. But I think if they're going to spend money, they're going to have to invest it that way to where they're implementing it where we don't even know it's being implemented.
I agree. I think therapists need to be everywhere, in the workplace, in the school, everywhere you're at. There should be one at church, like, you know, and they should be free services, free therapy at school, free therapy at church, free therapy at work. There's a show I love on, I think it's HBO, called Billions, and the therapist is there on site. Like, she's there. She got the job. You know, she works right in the same building as him, and they just be going down talking to her because that's how it is. Sometimes you need to just go yell at the therapist because you don't want to yell at your coworker, like, you know. And so, but here's the thing about Black mental health. There's already like a negative connotation attached to it because, you know, our grandparents always said that we didn't need help, and what stays in the home stays in the home. So there's this fear already of therapy. Then there's a lack of therapists that look like us. And so I feel like what happens with people is they don't want to talk to somebody that doesn't look like them. And then on top of that, it's, do I have the resources, meaning the funds for it right now? Because most people in their coverage, whether it be their coverage at work, therapy is not covered in your, you know, packages for your healthcare benefits at work. Yeah, you could probably pay extra for it, but most people are not getting that. And these are like high paying jobs too. Therapy is not attached to that. And so you see people just trying to figure it out for themselves. And that's why we are in the spaces that we're in. You know, I would love to see Black Lives Matter or all these people that be receiving billions and billions of dollars that are supposed to pour into the Black community. Like, well, what are you doing with all that money? Like, are you really, when are you going to open up like a mental health center in the hood? Or, you know, instead, where is all this money going? Are you really pouring back into the Black community? And not to just attack that one, you know, organization, but it's like all these organizations that keep saying like they're doing, it's like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? Like, I don't see it. You know, I see people that look like us trying to help the community, but I'm not, you know, and it's like, but yet, you know, you appear to be helping our community, but you're not. So there's two factors to that. We don't have the resources for it. And then there's not enough of them that can even talk or touch or understand the things that we're going through. A white person, and I love white people to death, a white person cannot understand how I feel about slavery. You'll never know what that shit feels like. You'll never understand it. And even though I wasn't in it, it's in my DNA. I feel it in my bones. We all know what that shit feels like. A white person can never relate. Ever. And so why would I go and tell you that I have PTSD from something that you could never relate to?
But I mean, that's why it's such a good opportunity to even discuss making that a profession. So 5 years from now, whoever's in school for it, more people of color can facilitate. So it's cool. We might not have it now. We might not have had it 15 years ago, but going forward, I think we're all in a position because we all work in the service of mental health and evolving spiritually. And, you know, whether it be from entrepreneurship or loving good music or lead well. Keandra, you have, you know, a workshop coming. So it's just like, we're all in the space doing our thing. And that's really what I love to see. I am bummed that Black Lives Matter, like we didn't, I would have loved to, because billions is a lot. So I don't mind you picking on that one, because it's not like, oh, we got 100,000 this year. Like y'all got guap. And I just really feel like that could have went to training for, you know, who am I? I'm not the finance person. I don't have the line items of what actually happened with the money, but it does seem like getting to the core of the issues, because all communities need therapy, yes, but I'm speaking about our community, and I just think it would rectify a lot of issues, and it just makes me question, why isn't this like highly
shout out Gustavo? He said we got money. They don't got money for therapy, but they got money for ties.
Money for therapy and money for ties. Yeah, exactly. Come on. And that's the same.
I would love to see TD Jakes. Or what's the other one? The one on in Texas and Houston, the one that didn't open his doors for the flood. What's his name?
Olsen?
White man. Olsen.
Oh,
I would love to see them have a therapy branch at their mega churches.
You know what? I think that they may, but I think
it does.
Yeah, like I think it goes back to, again, the access. Like therapy for most providers, therapy is not cheap, you know, and so if they're trying to make a living, you know, their sessions are minimum $100 per session.
I say 125 a session.
Yeah, 125 a
at
session.
Minimum.
You know, at minimum. You know what I mean? So it's like in order for it to be effective, it's recommended that you're doing it every week. You know what I'm saying? So it just kind of becomes this thing of where the mental health isn't accessible and it's not prioritized in the way that it should be, especially in California. One of the things that came up in my mind when BJ was talking about the budget cuts is it's a real thing, because the budget cut was definitely cut when it comes to psychiatry services. And that's why there's part of so much of the dumping. Our homeless problem is out of control. You know what I'm saying? In California. And we know that there are several, I don't necessarily know the percentages, but a lot of those people have actually been dumped in different communities because, the cuts from the county and the state, and they're no longer able to have these different institutions. And so I think all the way around, there's definitely different degrees, but mental health needs to be prioritized in a larger societal community way, not even just with people of color, but the way that we do our veterans, with their PTSD is sad. It's really sad,
so
and
sad.
It's so needed.
They gave their lives for us, and we just don't give nothing to them.
That is so disturbing, but that's why there should be more energy. That's what BJ was saying too, because he's an educator for over 15 years, I believe he said. And it's like, we do budget cuts for so much. There's no music and home ec and all this in school like what we used to have.
They don't even have PE no more. Like, it's crazy.
So it's like, how do we? That's what I'm saying. So what is the solution? Because I don't even think we should be paying therapists less. Give them their full rate to do the full work so we can actually heal on a level that makes sense. And, Black Women Speak in the chat, she said, when companies offer mental health, most people won't go because they're unsure how it will affect their job and if the information is private. And I feel that because I don't be trusting companies sometimes. So I get why people would be hesitant. Like, I'm not going to spill my guts about what happened that I'm turned around and fired because you done told Sam that I didn't like how I can't. Gus said Jewish people can relate in a different context. Yeah, I mean, we all have our issues in different sectors that are specific to us, so I get it. And then Black Women Speak said, trust me that money for therapy is more expensive than a lot of people's tithes. I don't know. It just sounds like such a misappropriation of funds on everywhere.
Yeah,
it's everywhere. I don't know what the solution is, but
where all the money go?
Because our teachers ain't getting it. They're doing all these cuts.
Hey, teachers their full wages.
Right. And more than $30,000 a year.
They should be the highest paid. They're educators. Are you kidding me? They're living on pennies. That shit is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And buying their own supplies for their students.
Yeah, that's insane. I don't know. I have no idea what the answer is, but I do know having conversations like this is helpful. I do know that having, platforms like Reneè, I know you're always giving tips and things for entrepreneurs. Like, we need to get our money up. We need to be able to have our legacy and money together and purpose fulfilled in a particular way so we can move forward. Same with Love and Good Music. When you share and you're vulnerable and you give, like, it is a little bit like therapy. I get it might not be sitting down with a professional, whatever, but even this, like, we're all out here doing what we can. And, Keandra, you having the healing workshop for Black women professionals, like, we need that. So here we are. We're on the ground like little warriors, doing what we can.
And that's the work right there, because it starts at the ground level. Like, that is the work. It's not really going to be on a high level unless like a celebrity really puts it out there or something like that. But it's everyday people that are always doing the work. It's everyday people that our world hasn't burned to the damn ground yet because of the love and the kindness of everyday Joe Schmoes is why we are still, this world is still rolling the way that it is, because of the love and the kindness of everyday people that people still have faith in humanity, because your neighbor is nice to you, or you have that one coworker at work that's nice to you, or that lady at the grocery store in aisle 5 that always says nice or says your name. It's people like that fucking make the world go round.
Yeah, and Courtney in the chat. What's up, Courtney? Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
She brought up a good point. I can't even imagine what these students are going through mentally during COVID. I can't.
It's bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's horrible.
It's bad.
I just spoke to some kids at North Hollywood High. When I tell you, I was and I don't know how the way the teacher formatted it, but in the beginning of the class, of course, no kids have to turn their cameras on. It's dreadful. Like, no one even has to turn their mic on. It's dreadful. So she's like, okay, guys, good morning. In the chat, I want you to put your numbers. And I'm just like, put your numbers. What is this? People are putting 1 point. So someone put a 1.7. Then someone put a 3, a 3, a 2. And I'm just like, what are these numbers? They're so low. So then, like, you know, she's like, okay, this is like how they're feeling emotionally, 1 to 5. And I was like, okay, well, what's the biggest number they could put up there? And they're like, oh, a 5 means I'm doing amazing today. And I was like, this is depressing. Like, all these kids are in here saying, oh, teacher, I'm a 2 today. It's 11 a.m. What you mean you a 2? Like, I'm a 2. I'm a 3. I'm a 1.7. And I was so concerned for the 1.7 because I was like, where did you get the 0.7? How did we earn the 0.7?
He's like, I'm a little bit happy
just
today.
a little bit better than shitty.
Yeah, you know, and I'm just like, wow.
I have hope.
These are ninth graders and who are doing schooling from their computers, and this is how they're feeling at 11 a.m. on a Friday.
That
Like,
breaks my heart.
They're at a 3 at the most. You know, the happiest person in the whole room is a 3. And then for me, it's like, poor teacher, because that teacher has to now absorb and immediately, I don't care how you feel. If every one of your students writes, I'm a 2, I'm a 3, I'm a 1, and they answer, oh yeah, teacher, you know, I don't feel good today. That's going to bum your energy because you did that at the top of the class. Now you have to absorb and try to pump up these kids who let you know when they tapped in the class, they're depressed right now. Like, you know, they ain't feeling it. Like, you know, so now you have to figure out, because you can't communicate with them properly, because at the minimum, if you could see their faces, maybe you could communicate, but you're not requiring them to turn their cameras on. You're not requiring to turn their mics on. So instead of speaking to you, they'd rather go type it in the chat because that's they have that privilege.
And then we're back to what we said in the beginning. They're not learning now. They're blocking. They're not learning how to speak. We're already turning this culture into a culture who can't communicate.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They're not even built for, like, we're taking the community out of school. And now we're taking communication away from these kids. Yeah. And like Black Women Speak said, and then these kids are processing everything that's going on at home.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's no outlet. They can't go talk to their best friend that they used to talk to on the playground. They can't go, you know, do the things that they used to do at school. Or go confide in their favorite teacher. Everybody had their favorite teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're taking this from these kids and you're asking them to be normal. You took normal from them.
It's insane. It's so hurtful. And it's crazy to think about. It's absolutely insane. Gus in the chat mentioned that the money goes back to the people who don't need it. Yeah, the time for change is now. I look forward to the new earth. I completely understand that, because when you look at everything that flipped over when COVID happened, like, yes, I think COVID's real, and I think there was precautions that needed to be taken and all these things, but it was very interesting to see how wealthy the wealthy got. And the disparaging gap that continued to be gapped. And it's just like, what are we doing, man? There's a lot of privacy issues related to the cameras and phone. Yeah, it's just a lot going on. I just got overwhelmed.
And still, there's no outlet. There's no mental health for these poor babies that are struggling.
1. That's all I'm saying, is like, it should be number 1. We need to pay therapists their full rate, because if it's going to be free, then the state needs to, I don't know, but it needs to be figured out, because I don't want to see what the remnants of this is going to be 5 years from now. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to see more them shootouts they be doing, because these kids are going crazy.
Damn.
Not the shootout.
The kids are going crazy.
Man, that's
and
insane.
imagine if you're in an abusive household and school was your outlet.
But that is what.
And now you live in an abusive household for an entire year and you have no outlet. I think, imagine the kid who doesn't get 3 meals a day at home and school was where they ate. What happens to that kid? What happens to, it's like nobody thinks about them. Nobody cares.
Insane. How hurtful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, this was definitely a powerful conversation. We went through all the waters, y'all. We done went through the river and made tons of stops. Okay, this was like really good, and I know so many people found so much value in it. I did have a video for our trending on social. Y'all still hanging, or should we bounce? Should we save it for what are we doing?
What time is it? I can't see.
I actually have to bounce soon now.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, because we went over our time. We've actually jam-packed this. I'll save what I have for another show. just because it's a good clip, but we might end up in here another 20 minutes. I don't want to do that to y'all. But yeah, this was really good and powerful.
Yeah, that's how we roll. We might go another 20 minutes.
So I think it would be great to kind of end this conversation if you guys, we do it a little bit, but I want each of you to share like what you have going on, what you're doing, you know, how you're serving, contributing, and just anything that you want to share about your business and what you have going on, not only so that the audience knows, but so that they know a little bit more about you and, you know, why we have the perspectives that we have. So we could just go in a circle. So Keandra, Cookee, Key, if you guys want to start.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Black Women Speak. I just saw that in the chat. You said thanks. So Keandra Doss, I am a consultant and a coach, and I primarily work with women of color, in particular Black women professionals, and help them create well-being centered lives. I have an amazing workshop that is going to be coming up at the end of this month called Lead Well. And it basically is surrounding all of the issues that we deal with as Black women professionals and how we can heal, but also create more sustaining situations, environment, and just more of an inner fortitude to be able to navigate through those spaces, because it's not just for those who are in the workplace. It also is the things of the things that women deal with, even as entrepreneurs, as they're working with these same individuals. It's no escaping it. It's something that we have to just learn to navigate and move through. And so I'm partnering with a friend of mine from undergraduate school. She's a professor at the University of Maryland, and she's been doing this research for several years on the ways that systemic racism particularly affects Black women and our psyche. And so we're going to be sharing, or she's going to be sharing rather, you know, just all the research and things that she's learned. And then I'll be sharing just the different tools and ways that you can be whole and get free and healed, and just also have some tools and just ways to be able to take care of yourself on a daily basis. So tune in, of course, the Queen's Glean, but then you can find the information on my link is Keandra D right there on IG.
We're going to nail it one day.
Let me get mine ready. Okay.
Yes.
This is where you guys can follow me. So I just recently launched a new show. It's called Loving Good Music. And it just is basically, to be point blank honest, my journey back to myself, because I got lost. I got lost in a couple of different ways through the loss of a death of a family member close to me, my grandmother, through the loss of a relationship, and also just transitioning into my new role at my job, which was not a loss, but a gain, but it also took a lot of energy from me. And so just, it's my journey through navigating motherhood, singleness, and through COVID on top of that. And, you know, just life and finding my way back to myself. But I know a lot of women are in that space. So I feel like because I have the platform for it, and because I have, you know, that type of reach, I want to let them know that I'm just like them, and, you know, and just create that space for them to come and heal and go along this journey with me. And so that's basically what the show is about. It's literally about everything I'm going through: parenthood, spirituality, looking for love, you know, all that stuff is in there. And dealing with, you know, my depression. I was definitely depressed 2 years ago. And, you know, I love that we speak about mental health. I did not seek a therapist until last year. So I went through that by myself. And so many people go through that by themselves, and I don't encourage that, you know, and so that's just pretty much what it's about. And you guys can follow me, and I love doing this platform show too. I think it's amazing for not only men and women. The conversations are always amazing, and thank you, Jaimi, for always letting me be here.
Of course.
Hello, beautifuls. Okay, so you guys can follow me however this thing works. It's somewhere down there. I don't know.
It's right here. Oh, no.
All right, boom. So the best way to get anything that you want to learn about me is honestly just go to my Instagram or go to my website, KeyReneè.com. I'm like just the queen of making shit happen. I have a podcast that teaches about entrepreneurship, You can follow a sneaker pop-up store that I've been producing. We're on our like 4th leg of a tour. Follow the Eric High sneaker brand. And outside of that, I'm just like, I'm just me. Talk a lot of shit. I'm always to my mind. And if you guys want to know anything else about me, just honestly go to my Instagram. Like, boom, right there, I did it.
There you go.
But go to my Instagram. And I'm always open to have conversations. You can ask me anything, scroll through, you'll figure it out.
Yes, I love it. Thank you guys so much for always showing up and spending your time and, reading the emails, listening to the men, always giving amazing input. I love it. And I really believe what we have is, special and honorable, and that people definitely gain from it. I get inbox messages and all kinds of things. And I definitely am always actually working to take the show to the next level. So I'll keep you guys posted on that type of stuff. But I'm Jaimi Alexander. You can find, doggone it. Yeah, you can find everything me right there, Jaimi Alexander on Instagram. I have a course out called The Power of Posture, where I teach people how to make decisions from their authentic self. I feel like there's so much noise these days. Like, you need to do this and you need to do that, and don't text them and don't have sex. And really it's just like, sweetie, you need to learn how to be able to make your own decision in the moment, not what everybody else says. So just getting back to that. And also, if you want to host a show like this or a podcast or any other platform, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, whatever, I created a course for that as well. It'll be really easy for you to appear a professional. And of course, Kings Speak and Queens Glean will remain. We love harmonizing relationships between men and women and talking about the important topics in our community that bring us together and keep us evolving. So thank y'all for tuning in. The chat, y'all were so fun. Much love. Share this with a friend, and we'll see you not next week, but the week after, because we got so much going on. We be needing our time.
Yeah, and shout out to Black Women Speak. She's the last comment of the night. It says, "Healing happens here."
You ain't never lied, sis. Thank you so much for the love. All right, y'all. This has been an amazing night. Have a great rest of your night, great weekend, and we'll see you in a little while. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.